I'm riding through a neighborhood in Calgary, Alberta right now during summer vacation. And these houses, they're the real deal. 2 and 3 story homes with mature landscaping, tall evergreens lining the streets, manicured lawns that say someone's maintaining them, wide, quiet driveways with newer trucks on them. The kind of properties that took decades to pay off and probably cost around $600,000 to $700,000, maybe more. These are the houses where you can see the pride, good architecture, solid construction, the kind of neighborhood where you'd expect to feel the security that comes with making it, the kind of place where people feel that they've succeeded. But here's what most people don't realize. Take a $650,000 home, put 10% down, that's $65,000. You're financing $580,000. At a 4.2% interest rate over 25 years, your monthly mortgage payments alone are $3,150. That's $37,800 every single year. Just the mortgage. The average household income in Calgary is around $92,000. That means that one of these houses is consuming over 40% of gross household income before property taxes, insurance, utilities, or maintenance, before your life even begins. That's the entire price to these neighborhoods. That's what it costs just to have the doors open. But behind these doors, 2 different retirement stories are playing out. One household is compounding. The other is liquidating. And the gap between them has a name. Economists call it the K-shaped economy. In this video, we're exploring why some retirees are thriving while others are sinking. Why the same neighborhood, the same country, the same economy is producing completely opposite outcomes. Picture the letter K. One line goes up, the other line goes down. Same starting point, same country, same economy, completely different trajectories. And retirement is where that split becomes impossible to ignore. It's not gradual. It's not something you notice in your 40s. It's something that becomes inevitable the moment you stop working. Here's what the line looks like that's going up. Assets. Homes bought decades ago when prices were reasonable. Maybe bought in the 1980s or the 1990s for $200,000 or $300,000. Now worth $1 million or more. Pensions that still actually exist and pay out. Real pensions, not the kind that depend on your own contributions. Defined benefit plans from employers who valued loyalty. Portfolios that kept compounding through every downturn. 2008, 2020, all of it. These people didn't panic sell. They let it ride. They made their purchases more durable. Money market funds supplementing their pensions while still buying the dip in quality sectors. They're not working harder in retirement. They're just letting time and compound interest do the heavy lifting. Their money is making money while they sleep, while they travel, while they spend time with their grandkids. Meanwhile, here's what the downline looks like. Income. That's it. Contract work. Freelancing. A paycheck that moves with the economy. Rising costs everywhere. Property taxes climbing. Utilities getting more expensive. Home maintenance bleeding money. A $50,000 roof replacement that wasn't budgeted for. An HVAC system that fails in winter. No real asset base to rely on. No dividend streams. No equity that's growing while they're paying attention. Just the pressure of keeping up with expenses on a salary that doesn't keep pace with inflation. Because inflation is real, especially for the things retirees actually need. Healthcare, food, home maintenance, property taxes. These aren't discretionary. They're non-negotiable. And that keeps climbing. It's not about choice. It's not about who worked harder. It's about what was available when they started. What opportunities were in front of them. What information they had. And the data backs this up. Canadians now believe they need $1.7 million to retire comfortably. That number was $1.4 million a year before. The target keeps climbing faster than most people can save. Think about that. In 1 year, the amount that is needed has climbed over $40,000 to $50,000. And more than a third of Canadians now say they don't think they'll ever get there. That's up from 1/3 a year before. The gap is widening, literally every year. The finish line keeps moving. So what happens next? Well, the research is pretty clear. 71% say they'll take a part-time job in their 60s or even their 70s. Not because they want to, because they have to. Almost a third say they'll sell their homes, downsize, move to a smaller place. Some plan to rent out part of their homes they're living in. Maybe rent out a room to cover the shortfall, turning their home into a rental property just to break even. But here's the thing. That's not a retirement plan. That's a liquidation plan. You're selling off assets and your time just to keep the lights on. You're trading away the things you've worked decades to build. And it's happening in houses just like these, on streets just like this one. Right now, while people are pulling into their driveways after work, they have no idea that the downline retirement story might be theirs in 10 years from now. And here's the part most people miss. The K-shape isn't about who worked harder or who was smarter. It's not about luck or being unlucky. It's about what kind of wealth you were exposed to. Home equity purchased when prices were reasonable. Index compounding over decades. A pension that started before the rules changed and employees stopped offering them. These weren't conscious choices for a lot of people. They chose what was available. You got hired at a company that offered a pension. You bought a house because that's what most people did. Versus someone who came up in a different era. A paycheck that rises and falls with the economy. Contract work. The gig economy. Freelancing before freelancing even had a name. One is an asset system. The other one is an income system. The only one of these protects you when inflation spikes, interest rates climb, or recession shows up uninvited. For the lucky quarter of Canadians who work for the government, there's a hearty pension waiting for them. That puts them in the upper class of the boomer retirement. They're on the upper line of the K. They know exactly what's coming. They can plan around it. But for the rest, for the 75%, an income that moves with the economy's mood is a house built on sand. You're only as secure as your next job, the next contract, your next client. And here's what most people don't understand. The K-shape isn't correcting. It's getting more noticeable and less manageable. The wealth that's on the upper line keeps compounding. The pressure on the downline keeps increasing. They're diverging. Every single year, the gap seemed manageable 10 years ago, and now it seems impossible. That's what compound interest does. It works both ways. Looking at these beautiful houses and dreaming of living in one of them, that's natural. That's the dream that most people have. That's the goal that drives people to work their whole lives. But the reality of the financial crisis hidden behind these doors paint a different picture. Some of these houses are occupied by people who are thriving. Others by people who are liquidating. And it's the picture you don't want to find yourself in at 65 years old, wondering how you're going to cover the property taxes, wondering if you need to rent out a room, wondering if you should sell. The good news? The K-shape isn't destiny. It's just the natural result of two different decisions made over decades. Different systems, different approaches. Start with assets, not just income. Let compounding do the work. That's the move. That's the difference between the two lines. I'll see you in the next one.